This is Seahawks Today. I am your host, Will Ortner, and I have finally given in. It's time. It's mock draft season. It's time for us to look at Will Ortner's mock draft 1.0 on today's show because the NFL Combine has just wrapped up, and I want to make sure that I show you who I think the Seahawks could be taking in the first 3 rounds of this draft, at least as the players sit right now. Now, it is important to note, I will not be doing any trades in this draft. We will not be trading down. We will be taking the Seahawks picks from the position that they are already in. So no John Schneider move downs to go and acquire multiple picks later on. Although I do want to make sure that I mention it would not shock me if that is a move that he decides to go with, or a couple of moves that he decides to go with, because the Seahawks right now have a limited number of draft picks. Before we get into any of that, though, you got to check out this sweet Seahawks Today shirt. Only $24.99. Look at how fresh and fly it is. You can get the navy or the black. Show that you're a real one of Seahawks Today by picking up one of these t-shirts. Let everybody know just how stinking cool you are, how much you love your favorite show. Plus, we are racing to the finish line right now. St. Patrick's Day is right around the corner. Get your Seattle Drinking Team t-shirt today. Newly established in 2026. We got the green as well as the navy t-shirt. Super affordable as well. Only $29.99. The link to both of these t-shirts are going to be in the comment section and description of today's video. All you got to do is click that link. It'll take you right where you need to go, and you'll be able to pick one up yourself. So when we look at the draft picks for the Seattle Seahawks in the 2026 draft, it is important to note that the Seahawks are missing their 4th and 5th round draft picks because they traded them away to get Rashid Shaheed. So the Seahawks are only going to have their 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 6th round pick in this draft. So pick 32, 64, and 96 as it sits right now. Now, it is important that everyone understands that I'm making these picks after the NFL Combine. We were covering it here at Chat Sports. We had our Chat Sports team that was out at Indy. And so I was able to get some extra coverage of the Seattle Seahawks and some potential players that the Seahawks could draft. Here was a tweet that I fired out over Avion Terrell. He really enjoyed his time with the Seattle Seahawks. Give me a follow on X because you're going to get some extra content over there if you haven't done so already. So when we go through this mock draft that I did on the PFF mock draft simulator, we're going to start in the 1st round, and we're going to start with the Houston Texans before we get all the way to pick 32 for the Seattle Seahawks. What I tell you right now is that the Texans, very good defense. They go with Lee Hunter of Texas Tech. Got a chance to really watch him go toe-to-toe with the Oregon football team because, well, that's the other team that I cover here at Chat Sports. Pretty darn good. Ty Simpson at pick number 29, Alabama quarterback to the Rams. I'll tell you right now, I would very much enjoy if he was the one trying to replace Matthew Stafford. Feel pretty darn good about that one. At pick 30, the Broncos. They're going with Caleb Lomu from Utah. Very good offensive tackle over there. Stealing my pride and joy, player that I love to watch. At pick number 32, Kenyon Sadiq of the Oregon football team. Tight end there, joining the New England Patriots, giving Drake May another tight end weapon. Hunter Henry getting a little bit long in the tooth. What I find interesting here about Sadiq as well is the skill set that he has. He can do multiple different things, and we know how much the Patriots love players that can do a multitude of different things. The Seattle Seahawks at pick number 32. Well, I just could not escape him. Had to go with the defensive back out of South Carolina, Brandon Cisse. And I'll tell you right now, that kid is freaking explosive. And he can do a multitude of a really cool, really good different things. I think that he fits into what Mike McDonald wants to do in Seattle. What impresses me the most about Cisse is his ability to never give up. He's always doing something. He's always playing to the utmost of his ability. Now, he was able to meet with the Seattle Seahawks during the NFL Combine. And we'll dive into that here in just a second, but I want to really dive into who he is as a player first. He's 6 feet tall, so he's a slightly average size, maybe a little bit on the bigger end corner. He can play on the outside just as well as he can play on the inside. Not afraid to make any tackles, not afraid to lock down any other players. What I find very impressive with him and his tape that we've seen so far from Cisse is that there is a lot of room for him to continue to improve. Speaking of that, let's see what he had to say about the Seattle Seahawks.
So I actually played 7-on-7 with Nick in high school. I was at the NFC Championship when they played the Rams to go watch them. So it was actually one of the best environments I've seen in a long time. So, yeah, I've seen the Seahawks. I studied their defense. Yes, I have. It went great. Awesome. One of my favorite ones. Can I talk to Nick at all about it? Oh, yes, I talked to him a few days ago. So, yeah, we keep in contact about weekly. We keep in contact. He's a good friend of mine.
So when you look at the full season for Cisse, obviously 27 tackles. You might like that number to be a little bit higher, but I actually don't have a problem with it. Remember, he is a corner, so at the end of the day, if guys aren't catching the football on you, well, then that's got to say something. You also have to understand that he plays in the SEC, and in the SEC, it means a whole lot more when you're coming up with big plays and big stops. When you have a player that's able to get the most out of their ability in the SEC, you always know that you are going to get a key player, a key star as you're going through this. You are going to see a player that I believe is going to maximize his abilities, and I love everything that he is doing. Now, I want to talk about his ability to play in the slot as well as on the outsides. When he plays inside of the slot, Cisse is not afraid to get the most out of his strength, his athleticism, his skill set. He's a player that can really lock down opposing teams. Why do I love the Seahawks getting this kid? Because he fits into what McDonald looks for in a player. And what does McDonald look for in a player? He looks for guys that can do everything. I love the Seahawks getting this demon in that position. I love the Seahawks finding a way to get another player that can play not just one spot, but 2 and 3 and 4. At the end of the day, that's always what's going to be most important. And when I look at Mike McDonald, that's clearly something that he wants to target. That's clearly something that he wants to build a team around. When you look at pick number 32 for the Seattle Seahawks, is there a player that you specifically want the Seahawks to go in and target? Now, I've heard some people say that I want to see the Seahawks get a defensive back. I've seen some people say that I want to see the Seahawks go get an edge rusher. I've seen some people say that they want to see the Seahawks go get a wide receiver. Who do you specifically want the Seahawks to take at pick number 32? Comment your answer down below. Let me know in the comment section and say it with your chest. Who should the Seahawks take at pick number 32? I'm very fascinated in your opinion. Next, we're going to get into my last 2 picks for the Seahawks because this is a 3-round mock draft. But before we do any of that, I need to let you know about my good friends over at Prize Picks because they are the sponsor of today's video. Shoot your shot on Prize Picks and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. That's right. Prize Picks is now giving you $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5. Prize Picks makes every dunk, every dime, and every board that much more exciting. So don't miss this chance to get started on America's #1 app for sports picks. Prize Picks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on any 2 to 6 player stat projections. If your picks are right, you could cash in. Pick from all your favorite sports, anything from basketball, baseball, hockey, UFC, soccer, college basketball, tennis, golf, esports, and more. New feature alert! Prize Picks now has early payouts. If your player gets off to a hot start, you now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. I have a 2-pick power play for some stuff that's going on this week. Malik Benson, less on his 40-time. Jonah Coleman, less on his 40-time as well. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. I have the Seahawks taking a different kind of demon, an edge rusher demon at pick number 64, Joshua Josephs. I think that this kid can come in and be a fantastic player for the Oregon football team, and I'm not the only one who thinks so. We have a fantastic group of reporters here and chat sports employees. And one of our guys, Joey Petersen, he mans our Tennessee Football Talk channel. So he's been able to watch Joseph's all year long. And this is what Joey Petersen had to say. Solid production, not many glaring weaknesses, but also not many glaring strengths. Just a good all-around player. I see him having a solid NFL career, but not being a game wrecker / game changer. I might actually disagree here with my guy, Joey P. And the reasoning for that is because I think Josephs can flourish in Mike Macdonald's system. He's the type of player that once you get him in with Macdonald, you're only going to see him go up, 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 and up. 33 tackles on the season, able to get after the passer as well as get some TFLs in the run game. Pressure number is really through the roof. That's always important. Not always are you going to be able to get a sack, but are you going to be able to get in the backfield and make people uncomfortable? That's always going to be important. And I think that Josephs would be able to do that and really build upon a lot of his strengths with the Seahawks. Why might the Seahawks take an edge rusher? Well, because here's kind of what you're looking at when it comes to the edges for the Seattle Seahawks. Uchenna Nwosu. He's someone that could potentially be up as a cut candidate. He makes a lot of money, and other than this year, he hasn't been all that healthy recently. I hope they don't cut him, but there are some options there for the Seahawks. Boye Mafe is a free agent. Everybody knows that, so he could potentially move on from the Seattle Seahawks. And the last person is DeMarcus Lawrence. There are retirement rumors that are fluttering about. I don't know that I fully believe in them, but I'll tell you right now, if he retires, Seattle's going to have to find a way to replace him. So these are all potential things that could happen in NFL free agency that could make the Seahawks really desperately need an edge rusher. That's why I like Josephs in this draft. I think that he's long, he's strong, and he's very athletic. When you're talking about an edge rusher, you want those types of qualities in them. And I think you can see him get the most out of his ability in Seattle. Macdonald always has good defensive linemen, and he always gets the most out of their talent. Leonard Williams is having a career year in Seattle. DeMarcus Lawrence, Uchenna Nwosu, one of their better years of their careers. And Byron Murphy, it was his best year of his very young career. So expect the Seahawks, if they do take Josephs, to get the most out of him. Hit that sub button. We're going to have you covered throughout free agency here on the channel. Daily videos. Free agency, it's right around the corner. You don't want to miss it, so make sure you hit that sub button. At pick 96, I have the Seahawks taking an interesting pick here, going for safety. Zakee Wheatley at pick number 96. Now, what I think is very important about the Seahawks going and grabbing a safety here would be as someone to kind of come in as a backup if you potentially lost Kobe Bryant in free agency, which it does feel like there are rumors kind of swirling about that. Unfortunately, he might not be back in Seattle, which really does suck. Wheatley, fantastic year with Penn State, made a bunch of tackles. You're not seeing a ton of interceptions there or pass breakups. That's okay. He's still a player that can do a lot. Now, you are going to look at my mock draft and say the Seahawks, they really targeted a lot of defensive players in this draft. And my thought process behind that is because what we saw at the Combine. When you talk about position groups that Seattle met with most, it's edge rushers, it's defensive backs, and it's specifically corners and safeties when you're talking about those defensive backs. Why? Because the Seahawks have a lot of potential free agents in that spot, guys that could potentially leave Seattle. Reek Woolen, Josh Jobe, Kobe Bryant, guys of that nature, and Boye Mafe at that edge rusher position. If these guys leave in free agency, Seattle has to replace them. And by the way Seattle was meeting with players at the Combine, it makes me feel like they're going to look to replace those guys by picking up draft picks and by picking guys in those positions in the draft. Let me know what you think of my mock draft for the Seattle Seahawks. Just remember, I'm very sensitive. Grade it A, B, C, D, or F down below in the comment section. Try to be nice. I do read the comments, and sometimes it does hurt my feelings if you grade me too harshly. I think it was halfway decent, but to come out here and say that it was an A, I think that's probably wrong. Hit that sub button if you haven't already. You love the Seattle Seahawks. I love the Seattle Seahawks. We've got you covered throughout 2026 with daily videos. Also, make sure that you follow me on social media. I'm going to have extra content around the draft, around free agency, at Will Ortner on Twitter and on Instagram. If you follow me there, you're going to get even more content than you already do here on the channel. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I cannot wait to see you next time.